How Antarctica was discovered accidentally. Did you know that for centuries, people believed that a vast landmass existed in the southern hemisphere, but it took more than 100 years to finally confirm its existence? In this video, we'll explore the journey of discovery that led to the unveiling of the coldest and most remote continent on Earth. From early explorers to modern-day scientific expeditions, we'll uncover the fascinating history of Antarctica. So buckle up and join us on this exciting journey through time to discover the mystery of Antarctica. By the end of this video, you'll have a whole new appreciation for this incredible place and the journey that led to its discovery.
In Antarctica, they jut out of the ice and snow, and they look perfect.
Greek revelations. For centuries, people have been captivated by the idea of a vast landmass in the southern hemisphere, but it wasn't until the late 18th century that the discovery of Antarctica became a reality. The idea of a landmass in the southern hemisphere has been around for centuries, and it all started with ancient Greek philosophers. These early thinkers knew about the Arctic from sailing voyages, descriptions, and stories, and they named it Arctos, meaning the bear, after the constellation of the Great Bear. They had proven that the world was a sphere, and so they postulated that there should be something at the pole opposite to the Arctic to balance the world out. They called this undiscovered landmass Antarctos, meaning opposite the bear. It's incredible to think that these ancient philosophers had the foresight to recognize the idea of a landmass in the southern hemisphere, even before anyone had ever approached it. And so, for hundreds of years, the continent of Antarctica appeared on world maps, waiting to be discovered. Despite its presence on maps, it wasn't until the late 18th century that the first real sightings of Antarctica were made. First expedition. By the early 19th century, explorers had been on the hunt for a massive southern continent that they believed would balance out the land in the northern hemisphere. One of the first attempts to find this mysterious land was made by Captain James Cook during his second voyage from 1772 to 1775. He spent 3 years searching for Terra Australis Incognita, which is a Latin word for southern land, but ultimately came up short. Despite his efforts, he was unable to find the continent. In his own words, he wrote, "I firmly believe that there is a tract of land near the pole, which is the source of most of the ice which is spread over this vast southern ocean." He went on to say, "The risk one runs in exploring a coast in these unknown and icy seas is so very great that I can be bold to say that no man will ever venture farther than I have done, and that the lands which may lie to the south will never be explored." But as it turns out, Captain Cook was just 80 miles from the coast of Antarctica at one point during his journey. Discovery of the snowlands. Fast forward to 1819, Russia sends Fabian von Bellenshausen on a mission to venture further south than Cook. On January 27, 1820, he set his sights on a solid ice wall that was likely attached to the Antarctic land now known as Queen Maud Land. Little did he know, just days later, British naval officer Edward Bransfield spotted the tip of the Antarctic. While von Bellenshausen was the first to see the unknown continent, his discovery was hidden for decades due to an incorrect translation of his journal. But fear not, the Americans were hot on their heels, with John Davis being the first person to step foot on the Antarctic land in 1821. The race to discover the frozen continent was on, and the story of its discovery is just as exciting as the continent itself. The discovery of Antarctica was a major milestone in human history, and it showed that there was still a vast and unknown world to be explored. Race to the South Pole. Now, if you thought discovering the Antarctica was impressive, wait till you hear about Amundsen's South Pole adventure. This jolly sailor set sail on a mission to be the first human being to reach the bottom of the world, and let me tell you, he sure did give Santa Claus a run for his money. With a hardy crew and a ship named Fram, Amundsen set out on his journey in 1910. The South Pole was no picnic. Freezing temperatures, harsh winds, and treacherous ice floes were just a few of the challenges that Amundsen faced. But being the determined sailor that he was, Amundsen pressed on, and after a grueling journey, he finally reached the South Pole on December 14th, 1911. Can you imagine the excitement that must have run through his veins as he planted that Norwegian flag at the bottom of the world? I bet he did a little jig and burst into a rendition of Hallelujah. Just kidding, I don't think that song was around yet. Now I know what you're thinking. But wait, wasn't Captain Scott the first to reach the South Pole? Well, my friend, let me correct you. He wasn't. Unfortunately for Captain Scott, Amundsen beat him to the punch by over a month. Talk about adding insult to injury. Poor Captain Scott had to trudge through the harsh Antarctic conditions, only to find that someone had already claimed his prize. Despite Amundsen's achievement, historian Edward J. Larson notes that the reception to his accomplishment was less than warm. At a ceremony honoring him, attendees cheered for his dogs, but not for the explorer himself. Despite the harsh conditions of the Antarctic, the passion it ignites in the hearts of explorers are just as hot.
Scientists are now intensely researching where Thwaites is melting and how fast it might melt.
The Heroic Era. The early 20th century was a time of intense exploration in Antarctica. Known as the Heroic Era, this period saw a surge of geographic and scientific knowledge of the continent. During this time, expeditions from all over the world sought to explore the icy wilderness, proving the viability of overwintering and introducing new technologies in the process. The British National Antarctic Expedition of 1901 to 04, led by Robert Falcon Scott, was a landmark event in the Heroic Era. The expedition aboard the Discovery reached the farthest point south to date, and Scott, along with Ernest H. Shackleton and Edward A. Wilson, set a new record for the farthest point reached. This was also a time of innovation, as Scott went aloft in a tethered balloon for aerial reconnaissance, and Shackleton first used motorized transport at Cape Royds, Ross Island, during the Nimrod expedition of 1907 to 1909. Many other countries, including France, Germany, and Sweden, also launched expeditions in the early 20th century. Some were privately funded, while others were state-funded and involved multiple countries. Despite the various funding sources, the goal remained the same: to push the boundaries of exploration and knowledge of Antarctica. The Heroic Era culminated in the race for the South Pole and other firsts, solidifying the early 20th century as a time of great exploration in Antarctica.
17, we used a very special seafloor drill rig that hasn't been used before in Antarctica.
Fight for the land. In the late 1950s, several countries were expressing interest in exploring and possibly even exploiting Antarctica's natural resources. But as we all know, things can get pretty messy when different countries start jostling for power in the same area. To cater to this issue, a treaty was proposed called the Antarctic Treaty. This agreement was signed by 12 countries, including the United States, the Soviet Union, and the United Kingdom in December 1959 to prevent international conflict over Antarctica and promote cooperation in scientific research. So what exactly does the treaty cover? For starters, it designates Antarctica as a scientific preserve and bans military activity on the continent. The treaty also requires that any scientific research be conducted for peaceful purposes and be made available to all signatory countries. But the real magic of the Antarctic Treaty is the spirit of cooperation it promotes. Scientists from all over the world can work together in Antarctica, sharing their findings and knowledge to help advance our understanding of this amazing continent. And in case you were wondering, the treaty has been a huge success. Since its signing, not a single shot has been fired in anger in Antarctica, and the continent has remained a haven of peace and cooperation in an increasingly divided world. Scientific exploration. This frozen continent has become a hotbed of scientific exploration and discovery. From the cute and cuddly penguins to the massive and majestic whales, Antarctica is home to a wealth of unique and fascinating wildlife. And let's not forget about the ice. Antarctic ice cores hold a wealth of information about the history of our planet and the impact of climate change. Scientists have been able to study the layers of ice to learn about things like atmospheric composition and temperature changes over thousands of years.
Little road in the crevasse area, you see black flags everywhere. Black flags mean, well, death or don't go there, so that's a bit nerve-wracking.
By analyzing the bubbles of ancient air trapped in the ice, they can get a snapshot of what the atmosphere was like in the past, as well as see how much it has changed over time. Ice cores also contain information about the Earth's magnetic field, solar activity, and even volcanic eruptions. All of these factors can help scientists understand how the Earth's climate has changed in the past and how it is likely to change in the future. And it's not just the ice itself that's being studied. The surrounding ecosystem is also an area of active research. Scientists are studying the plants and animals that live in their region to understand how they have adapted to such a harsh and unique environment. They're also monitoring the health of the Antarctic Ocean, which plays a critical role in regulating the Earth's climate. And let's not forget about the human factor. Antarctica is one of the last true frontiers of our planet, and the challenges posed by its harsh environment have inspired some truly incredible feats of engineering and technology, from ice-breaking ships and submersibles to the construction of research stations and even entire cities. Antarctica is a proving ground for the ingenuity of humankind. So let's raise a glass of hot cocoa, because it's chilly down here, to the brave explorers who stumbled upon this frozen wonderland, and to all the scientists who are continuing to unlock its secrets to this day. And to all you adventurers out there, remember sometimes the best discoveries come from taking a wrong turn. So keep exploring, keep asking questions, and who knows what amazing things you'll find. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.